name's Kevin Van Meter. I use he and him pronouns. I'm the teaching fellow at the Scontra Center for Labor and Community Education at the University of Southern Maine. I think I know almost everybody, so probably didn't need an introduction. This is my friend Josh. He's with the Justseeds Art Collective for 30 years now, has been curating the Celebrate People's History poster series. We're proud to say, and feel free to take copies of those posters, but we're also proud to say that we have a new poster celebrating the J paper workers strike. So there's plenty of those too. Envelopes to make sure they get home safe. And Josh is going to talk a little bit about the poster series.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming out and for making shirts and totes and everything and having me up here. Yeah, my name's Josh MacPhee. I use he, him pronouns. I live in Brooklyn, New York, and actually the poster series started in 1998. I had recently moved to Chicago, and my roommate at the time was a public school teacher, elementary school in the south side of Chicago, and she was very frustrated with the lack of materials that she could get to hang up in her classroom that reflected the experiences and reality of her students. And I was, when it was going through a period of pretending I was a street artist. And, you know, Chicago is a massive, 3-4 million people city and one of the sort of centers of advertising. And I was just struck by how everything on the street was a directive. Go here, go there, buy this, do that. And I was really interested in trying to think through how to make something that was a little bit more generous that could go up on the street, that wasn't in like traditional graffiti, sort of a secret code that was only for a certain audience. And so we worked together and created a poster in celebration of Malcolm X. Because she thought that that would be appropriate for the classroom. I thought it would be cool to put Malcolm X all up in the streets of Chicago. And we printed our first poster in 1998. She started getting it out to kind of social justice teaching networks, and I went out with teams of people putting them up around Chicago, and that experience was pretty much transformed my life, because I had always been doing this kind of work surreptitiously in the middle of the night. So we went out, and everyone on the street was like, "Oh, Malcolm X, I love Malcolm X, can I help you put them up? Can I take those home for my kids?" It was like people were thanking me for putting posters up in their neighborhood, which had never happened before. So I was like, wait a second, maybe this is actually something that doesn't have to be so secret and so private, and maybe this can be, why come from the margins instead of claiming the center on some level? And so that started this project, which now is 25, 26 years old. There's been 194 different posters printed. They've been put up on the streets all over the world at this point, but also in classrooms, in community centers, in union halls. They sort of have kind of had this broad, growing reach, which has been really fabulous. So there's about 500,000 of the posters that are in the world at this point. When we started, I did the art for the first poster was Malcolm X, and part of the reason why we wanted to do that is because Liz had found this great quote of his, which turns out is a paraphrase, but basically, we need to know where we've been to know where we're going. We need to know our past in order to charter a course for our future, which basically has become the motto for the project, that history, when you think about it, is this amazing tool to crack open the present, because we live in a social context in which we're just inundated with the idea that the now is permanent. Things are the way they are, they've always been that way, and they always will be that way. And that's kind of how our society and the maintenance of the status quo is controlled, is this sort of ideological tool saying things can't change. But history is amazing because it just sort of sticks a wedge under that and pops it up and is like, wait a second, it's been different millions of different ways, which means it can be different again, millions of other ways. And then taking that idea forward, people started seeing the posters that I had designed and then said, can I make a poster? And I was like, sure. And so it kind of started to snowball. And this was, in the late 90s, it was this weird technological period in which there were cell phones, but most people didn't have them. I had an email address, but I barely used it. There's no website. So I started getting packages in the mail with physical like paste ups of posters that people had like hand printed and then done a second layer with spray paint stencil. And then I would bring these to the print shop and we would mark them up and print posters. And then it kind of blossomed from there and became, in a way, a community, but really the idea sort of shifted to not just be about history, but about historiography. That actually, like, what if we all could actually participate in the telling of our own histories? If we got to look back in the things that were important to us and look for people and events and groups that we thought were really cool and that people should know about, but have been like largely bulldozed by mainstream history. And so basically anyone that expresses any interest, any artist, designer, anyone really who wants to do a poster, I'll give them the very basic criteria and invite them to do a poster, and then if they get back to me, then we'll figure it out and we'll print it. But the deal is that you need to come up with your own idea. I'm not going to tell anyone what the poster should be about. And that has created a very uneven kind of landscape of posters where you've got concentrations of stuff in some places and other places where there's very few or no posters. But it also has created this really interesting kind of cacophony of voices where the posters don't agree with each other, that they're presenting very different ideological or political positions, and they really challenge the idea of history as being progressive, that like A is necessarily followed by B, which is necessarily followed by C, but instead it's just this messy chaos, and generally we understand it as progressive because we're looking at it in hindsight, as if these things naturally had to happen. But in fact, like, everything is always contested all the time, and so the posters kind of capture these moments. Some things that are just like very minor victories, and then they got bulldozed again. Some things that transformed almost everyone's life on the planet. And it's having those things in dialogue that I think makes it really interesting and kind of continues to be compelling to do it. So, I mean, that's the broad overview. And then there's piles of posters here. People feel free to take them. I do not want to take them home. And then I have a couple copies of a book that I did that compiles all the posters. People are interested in that. And get everything you're wearing screen printed with, and like, oh, it's here. See, look at this. We don't have to just put one thing. You can like make a rainbow of trees. You can like put the thing in your armpit. You can do it upside down. So like take advantage of this amazing setup that Little Chair has here to be able to print anything and everything. It's awesome. So thanks everyone.
Thank you.